Global media culture.
Globalization is not only economic wherein the flow of goods, capital, exchange of commodities, trade are conducted on a scale that involves a highly interconnected, integrated, and interdependent world. It is also involves a cultural aspect involving the flow of ideas, people, practices, knowledge, and culture. The development and use of technologies that allow the exchange, transfer, and creation of ideas, knowledge, and culture to individuals or groups across international boundaries are crucial to the latter process. We can communicate by appealing to each one's different senses, such as the sense of smell, sight, hearing, taste, and touch. Predominantly, we rely our message or ideas through our sense of sight or hearing. Society has become increasingly complex, thereby making direct communication an increasingly complicated matter. The majority of Filipinos at least have one relative or know someone who are an overseas Filipino worker. We cannot visit them where they choose to work, but we want to communicate with them consistently. Before the internet was invented, relatives of RFWs communicated with their loved ones through postal mail, voice tape, long-distance telephone calls, or telegram. In our everyday lives, we are exposed to different social practices, beliefs, activities, and cultural norms from societies located in the various parts of the world through the internet, television, films, newspaper, and magazines. In one way or another, these factors influence our worldviews, preferences, and individual and collective dispositions. Mass media has become an indelible feature of societal advances and a means through which these advances are experienced by people worldwide. Contents featured through media may vary, but almost all reflect the unique experience, observation, way of life, and practices of individual utilizing it. These contents can be influenced the worldview of the people receiving or consuming these contents through the same media or outlets that are available to them. Mass media refers to the different forms of technology used in transmitting messages, ideas, and opinions to a large and diverse group of people from various places. At present, mass media is categorized into traditional and new media. Traditional media refers to the conventional means of mass communication, such as advertisement, newspaper, magazine, radio, television, billboards, and films. Traditional media can be traced to the time when humankind saw the need and learned to communicate with one another. Cave paintings, sign language, and a simple conversation can be considered form of traditional media. Traditional media remains to be a reliable platform for relaying information and knowledge to the human across territorial divides. Except for telegram and telephone, traditional media tends to be one-directional. It facilitates a one-way communication where the person on the receiving end cannot respond or give real-time feedback on information or message relayed to him or her. Meanwhile, new media are the means of mass communication that rely on or use computer technology as a platform. Feedback from the recipient to the creator of the message or information is minimal if not existent. These are blogs, vlogs, social media, email, website, chat rooms, or other. The advantage that new media has over traditional media is the flexibility. It is more accessible than the traditional media. It allows individuals to be involved in the communicative process to give feedback to each other's opinions, information, or messages in real time, as evidenced by our use of mobile phones, chat rooms, social media, or other. In addition to allowing two-way communication, new media bypass communication time-space dimension for more conveniently than traditional media. At present, we can communicate with our relatives or friends from other parts of the world in the different time zones in real time, thereby enabling connectivity that the traditional media was unable to attain. Media significance is no longer confined to the role of relaying information, messages, or knowledge. Stevenson explained that much of modern culture is transmitted by the media or mass communication. In this sense, media can influence and even alter how people worldwide experience and create knowledge, information, and cultural exercise across various aspects of social existence. Johnson added that media culture is socio-cultural condition wherein the commodities and media texts are important for establishing and expressing cultural identity. Generally, media culture refers to the societies predominantly influenced by Western capitalist culture through mass media. This concept magnifies the impact of media on a global scale. Jack Lew explained that globalization could not exist without media. The human impulse to globalize and the human need to communicate over distance proceeded together through history, each driving and influencing the other. To understand this, Lew proposed 5 time periods to world globalization. Oral communication. Human speech is the oldest of all the media in humanity's history. Lew explained that speech had been around for at least 200,000 years ago, compared with the script 7,000 years, print 600 years, and digital technology less than 50 years. In time, speech would develop into language, which will enable to human to communicate, setting them apart from the other species, allowing them to cover and conquer the world. Language will enable humans to cooperate and coordinate their activities amid a hazardous and precarious environment, whether it be in hunting or transferring from one place to another in search of food, or sharing information to improve their chances of survival. Humankind would use language to conduct these activities in a concerted manner, thereby and eventually leading to early humans populating the farthest parts of the world. Script. Lew considered this crucial for globalization and culture. Lew argues that oral speech is imperfect. Orally transmitted messages and information lose accuracy when transmitted across great distances over long periods because it relies on the retentive capacity of the messenger's memory. Lew added that script, which is the earliest form of writing, allowed humans to communicate and share knowledge, ideas, and information over long periods and across vast spaces. Printing press. Its invention has a substantial role in the history of globalization and media. Script allowed the copying of documents, but it was slow and laborious. Although script spread civilization to different groups of people, it was also limited to an exclusive few. The invention of the printing press made previously expensively produced and made reading materials affordable and easily circulated. Electronic media refers to the technologies requiring electromagnetic energy, that is electricity. Examples for electronic media are telephone, telegraph, radio, television, film, or other. The telegraph's impact during its time was sensational. It is credited for expediting the relay of information electronically, which took a considerable amount of time when relying on the physical transport of printed or recorded messages. Digital media are electronic media that rely on digital codes. The most evident manifestation of digital media today is the computer and the smartphone. Digital media enables people to communicate in ways that are not facilitated by traditional mass media. Although the computer is considered the most powerful medium to influence globalization, the internet facilitates exchanges and transactions conducted by individuals and organizations through the computer. Exchange of email, real-time chat, and video calls, online trading, music streaming, online banking, or other, are not only proof of digital media's ability to bypass physical boundaries and expedite transaction, but also a means to integrate individuals and societies into a deeply interconnected and interdependent social, political, and economic space. The growing international integration means that the state, as a primary territorial unit organizing important social life aspects, has become much weaker and possibly impotent in many essential aspects today. Zygmunt Bauman, one of the most interesting contemporary social theorists, argued that as the result of globalization, the military, economic, and cultural self-sufficiency, indeed self-sustainability of the state and the state ceased to be a viable prospect. In the case of media, technological advances such as the satellite transmission of our broadcast signals and the global character of the internet have decisively broken down to the old close correspondence between national political organizations regulated by states and the prevailing organization of the media. The primary vehicle of the phenomenon of global media is the multinational corporation. Media globalization has aided in the production and distribution of information. As Dominic 2002 noted that the production rate of information doubles every 8 years, also indicated that information is being produced at the rate that is 4 times faster than the consumption of information. The phenomenon of media globalization and the increasing abundance of media text production have produced various effects researched by communication scholars. Media globalization is a broad topic, including television, radio, film, music, the internet, and the other digital media forms. By definition, global media is mass communication at a global level, enabling people around the world to share and access the same information. Indeed, has made life easier for people around the world. Media globalization is the phenomenon of expanding multinational corporate media investment, thereby resulting in the emergence of a global oligarchy of the first-tier corporation, which own and operate a variety of mass media, content and distribution technologies, including television, radio, film, music, broadcasting, satellite, telecommunication, cable, newspaper, magazine, publishing companies, internet, content providers, and other forms of coverage digital media. Global integration depends mainly on the global advocacy of capital. Capital is scarce, more so in the developing world. The financial means available to developing countries must harmonize with the human capital. Without human capital and intellectual capital, financial capital is not conducive to producing economic benefits. Therefore, intellectual capital must develop as side by side with human capital and financial capital. Global integration can also involve the processes of product standardization and technology development centralization. Globalization is an inevitable force. Many see this force as conflict with the local interests. Consequently, globalization is often considered a negative, imperialistic force that kills local identities, forces the uniformity of culture and experience, and destroys independent self-determination. At the same time, globalization is occasionally seen as a positive force, helping economic growth in the poorer parts of the world, bringing peoples of the world closer, and increasing knowledge and understanding among nations. Most positive reaction seems to be coming from international bodies that further the goals of businesses and government, along with the global corporation and the governments themselves. Negative responses tend to go from a loose coalition of citizens who seem most concerned with the destruction of local life, moods, and tradition, impoverishment of sector that cannot merge into the global economy, and cultural imperialism, as well as from several labor organizations. In all cases, the debates tend to focus on the dynamic of the local-global relations. The intensity of the global-local dynamic has been felt in the action that have been materialized around the meetings of some of the most prominent international bodies, such as the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Trade Organization. These actions take a different direction in the globalization one that expand beyond economic success and a growth concern and recognize the cultural, organizational, and the social diversity and needs of local communities that are integrated into the global system, with minimal care for the devastating effect of the required transformation are left out to disintegrate under the pressure of globalization. The reaction ranged from passive resistance to armed struggles. Cultures have always been a result of the encounter of local developments with outside influence. Adventurers, traders, and warriors brought their cultures to the world and were also influenced by their encounters. During World War II, we saw the spread of global culture, increasingly competing with and replacing parts of the local culture because initially, this influence was embraced and welcomed. Fashion, music, literature, and a different way of living are appealing to many and seen exciting and enriching. At the same time, a global layer emerged, the amalgamation of the local habits and custom for various places. Radio and TV were the significant accelerator of this development. Later, the internet also came into the picture.